So today I want to visit with you about ethanol and what is it that the Nebraska Ethanol Board does. We are a state agency and we work for the 25 ethanol plants here in the state of Nebraska and the ethanol industry as a whole. We have the capability of producing 2.6 billion gallons of ethanol here in the state of Nebraska. We work for those plants in a variety of ways. We do state and federal legislation, but we also do educational type things, which is exactly what we're doing here today to let you know what the benefits are of ethanol. One of the first benefits I want to visit with you about is the economics, what it brings to the state of Nebraska and to the nation. As I mentioned before, we have the capability of producing 2.6 billion gallons here in the state of Nebraska. Ethanol in Nebraska contributes 5 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars to the state's economy. So you can see just exactly how important it is. You know, not only do our ethanol plants produce ethanol, but they also produce many other products. I've got just a few examples here, and I'm not going to go through all of these examples, but I do want to point out two main ones. The first one that I want to point out to you is corn distiller's oil. This is used by a lot of different aspects, used in livestock feed, all kinds of different aspects, also used in biodiesel now. It's part of the time soybean oil is used, part of the time corn oil is used in our biodiesel. The next thing that I want to point out, which probably most of you are familiar with, is our dried distillers grains. These are both two main co-products that come out of the production of ethanol. You know, here in the state of Nebraska, we like to talk about the golden triangle. And that's what our ethanol plants were built on, is basically that golden triangle. So what is the golden triangle? You have the corn farmer who plants their corn, grows their corn, harvests it, and then delivers it to an ethanol plant. The ethanol plant takes that corn and turns it into ethanol, turns it into corn oil, turns it into dried distillers grains. Then those dried distiller grains go back out to our feedlots, to our livestock feedlots, whether that be pork, whether it be cattle, whether it be poultry, whatever it be, and turns it into high protein meat products. And then the cycle starts all over again. So you can see how it's all interdependent upon each other and why it is so vitally important to the agricultural economy. One of the perfect things about ethanol, and one of the greatest advantages of ethanol, is that it saves you money when you pull in to fill your vehicle up at the pump. When you pull in, you will always see several different types of fuel at that dispenser when you're there. Make sure that you look for blends or for fuels that have blends of ethanol in them, that being E10, E15, if you drive a flex fuel vehicle, E30 and E85. They will all save you a significant amount of money. So I want to show you here, this is a picture of a fuel pump, and you see all the different blends across here. Here you see super unleaded 88, and you're going to notice that ethanol blends will be called different names. You'll either see super unleaded 88 or you see unleaded 88, but it always will have 15% ethanol in it. If you look up here, you can see the E15 and the E10. E10 will just be called super unleaded in many places. But I want you to see the difference in price here between these blends. If you look at regular E10, it's $1.87 today. If you look at super unleaded 88, which is 15% ethanol, you see a price of $1.82. There's a saving of 5 cents. That's a pretty good savings by the time you fill up a 20-gallon fuel tank in there. And then I want to compare this, the super unleaded 15%, or even the E10, to gasoline with no ethanol in it. You see, this one has absolutely no ethanol in it, $2.22. That's a difference of 40 cents per gallon. So as we've shown you the different prices and the different types of fuel that you can get when you pull into the gas station, we also wanted to explain to you what it is that you can use these fuels in. If you drive a vehicle that is 2001 or newer, you can use either E10 or E15 in that vehicle. Any vehicle 2001 and newer is designed to be run on E15. So why not save yourself that money? You know, if you're wondering where you can find these fuels at, the best thing for you to do is to go to a website called getbiofuels.com. So one of the things we really want you to know is that ethanol is really good for your engine. You see, what ethanol does is it replaces a lot of the chemicals that are put into gasoline. A lot of those chemicals that are put in are carcinogenic and can cause cancer. They can also cause problems with asthma, all types of health problems. What ethanol is basically octane. And that's why they put those nasty chemicals in gasoline, is for octane. So Ethanol can replace those nasty chemicals. Why do you have to have octane in your gasoline? You ever been in a car where you pushed down real hard on the gas pedal and it just started knocking like crazy? That's because there wasn't enough octane in that gasoline to keep that engine from knocking. It's called pre-ignition. And what octane does, the higher the octane, the less of that pre-ignition that you have in that engine, and that pre-ignition can ruin an engine. So what we also want you to know as we talk about the engine is that it actually cleans your engine. Ethanol is a solvent also. Not only is it an octane booster, but it's also a solvent. So as you run a solvent through an engine, it's going to clean all your fuel injectors, it's going to clean your fuel lines, it's just going to basically clean your engine up. Here's the thing I want you to understand. Let's say you're at home and you've spilled something, you've made a mess, or you've got a bunch of grease sitting around that you need to clean up. The first thing I reach for is alcohol. That's exactly what ethanol is. It cleans things up. So you're using the very same thing maybe to clean off a bench top as what you're running through your engine, and keeps it cleaner, keeps spark plugs cleaner and running longer. It's just all around good for your engine. So we've already explained to you a multitude of reasons why you should be using higher blends of ethanol, but now I want to explain to you another one that's really, really important to you, and that is the health benefits of ethanol. We all know that as our cars burn gasoline, out of the tailpipe comes emissions. Every car has a tailpipe, every car has those emissions coming out of them, unless of course it's an electric car, but that's a subject for another day. But anyway, what ethanol can do, ethanol helps that fuel to burn more completely, so we have less emissions coming out of that tailpipe, which then results in cleaner air for all of you to breathe. So I want to show you an example through a video here of what I'm talking about when I talk about cleaner emissions because of ethanol. This video is going to show you just how clean ethanol burns.
Hi, my name is Steve Vandegreen with the Urban Air Initiative, and today we want to compare gasoline to ethanol, but we actually want to break that gasoline down just a little bit further. And so here we have the saturates, the olefins, and aromatics as the three main groups of gasoline, and then we also have ethanol. So as we look at the flame difference between ethanol and saturates, which are really the better components of gasoline, we get into the more toxic components of olefins, maybe 10% of gasoline, and the aromatics anywhere from 25 to 30%. We can see that the aromatics is the biggest contributor to a lot of the soot, a lot of the carbon you get into your engines. And so when we talk about what can replace aromatics, we look a lot at the benefit of ethanol being a much cleaner burning fuel. And so here we're just breaking it down a little bit further. What is the most toxic or the dirtiest part of gasoline? And we see that it comes from the aromatics.
So what we have found is that our automobile sector is the second largest contributor towards greenhouse gases and pollution into our atmosphere. Did you know that if you use higher blends of ethanol, you can reduce those greenhouse gases coming out of your vehicle by 42%? So you see, really what it amounts to is that ethanol is good for your engine, it's good for you, and it's great for our environment. Well, are you ready to use more ethanol now? I would hope so after learning all that and how good it is for our environment, for your vehicle, and for you.